我宣布會議開始，或者我請劉家強先生同佢嘅陪同人員入呢個會議室。
主席啱啱嚟咗呢個開場發言，可唔可以俾蚊吧？係。可以。請蚊吧舉手發言。
首先歡迎各位。
Welcome to the Select Committee to inquire into the background of and reasons for the delay of the construction of the Hong Kong section of the Guangzhou-Shenzhen-Hong Kong Express Rail Link. This is the first public hearing. With us as witness today is Director of Highways, Mr. Peter Lau Ka-Keung. Welcome, Mr. Lau. The Select Committee has agreed with Mr. Lau's suggestion that his colleagues be allowed to accompany him. We have Mr. Henry Chen, RDO Principal Government Engineer, Mr. Tam Hon Choi, also from the RDO, and Legal Advisory Division Works of the Development Bureau, Senior Government Counsel, Mr. Clement Lin. Welcome. I'd like to draw members' attention to the fact that those accompanying Mr. Chen and Mr. Lau will not be allowed to speak at the Select Committee. Mr. Wu Chi-wai and Mr. Charles Mok presented a petition at the Council meeting on June the 25th, 2014, and the Council referred the issue to the Select Committee under Rule 26 of the Rules of Procedure, and therefore this committee is set up. The terms of reference of the Select Committee is to inquire into the background and reasons for the incident of the delay of the construction of the Hong Kong section of the Guangzhou-Shenzhen-Hong Kong Express Rail Link as announced by the government and MTR Corporation Limited in April 2014 and related issues, including the performance and accountability of the government and the corporation, and whether they have been deliberately covered up the project delay, and to make recommendations to enhance the supervision of the construction of railway projects and strengthen governance of the corporation in delivering railway projects and related issues. We haven't been authorized to exercise the powers and privileges under Section 291 of Cap 2 382, and the witness will not be protected by powers and privileges. I'd like to remind the witness that on critical issues posed during the hearing, if the witness gives false replies, or if the witness were to furnish us with bogus, untrue, or doctored documents in order to deceive the Select Committee, then it will become an offense. We have the practice and procedure. I'd like to draw your attention to the following points. First, members' powers and privileges under Cap 382 will only be applicable in the course of the hearing. All members, including non-Select Committee members, should refrain from making any comments related to the hearing outside the context of this hearing. Also, members of the public should remember that any evidence disclosed outside the hearing will not be protected by Cap 382. If necessary, members of the media and members of the public should seek the legal advice regarding their liabilities. Later on, I'll be calling upon the witness to confirm the statement and the documents furnished to the Select Committee, and the documents will be admitted as evidence in the Select Committee. We have also agreed that to facilitate the members of the public to follow the proceedings, once the witness has confirmed the documents and the statement, we will make available the documents to the public and the media. And the documents that the witness agrees to be made public will also be posted on the web for public access. Before I get started, I'd like to say that the first public hearing was supposed to be held on the 26th of February. However, the administration failed to submit all the relevant documents before the due date, and therefore we have to reschedule it to today. I now declare the public hearing open. Mr. Lau. On the 18th of February, you submitted a witness statement to the Select Committee. That's W1C. Will you formally produce this statement as evidence? Yes, indeed, Chairman. To facilitate the members of the public who are in the gallery, I will, at their request, make available the statement to the public. Do you have anything else to add? Chairman, I've got something else to add. Thank you very much, Chairman, for the opportunities. The Guangzhou-Shenzhen-Hong Kong Expressway, or the XRL, is an important infrastructural project. The delays has caused a great deal of public concerns and also concerns of the electrical members. I will try to work with the Select Committee. I don't want to go into too much detail about the issue except to highlight 2 points. First, the XRL was entrusted to the MTRC as a concession in the concession model, and this is the very first time we adopted this concession model and entrustment model. Before that, we did consider all the necessary or the appropriate arrangements. In 2008, the Highways Department appointed lawyers as a consultant. One of the subjects we looked into was if the government entrusted the project to the MTRCL, what sort of management mechanism should there be? Basically, the mechanism was set up in accordance with the recommendations of lawyers. Second, the management mechanism is the checkers model as recommended by lawyers. Simply put, the MTRCL appoints consultants and contractors to design and build the project and supervise the contractors and the work. And the Highways Department is responsible for monitoring this supervisor to make sure that they are in compliance. Next, I'd like to say something about the slippage and delays. In terms of work procedures, it is quite common to see slippage because in some cases there are uncontrollable and unpredictable factors like inclement weather and adverse soil condition. If we cannot recover the delays, there will be slippage. The experts appointed by the MCRC advanced similar arguments. They conducted a study on 59 projects overseas, and 70% of them experienced delays. The average rate was 43%. In April 2014, the Highways Department conducted an independent review, we observed all the issues relating to delays because of the undesirable soil conditions. The observation is in line with the 10 major reasons cited by the IBC. I noticed that there are some issues relating to the institutional setup that was highlighted, like the management mechanism wasn't sufficiently robust. Under EA2, we looked into whether these are related issues, and we took follow-up action thereafter. Second, the supervisory role of the Highways Department. First, we have to monitor and verify the work of the MTRC to make sure that they're done in accordance with the mechanism. We do have different levels of mechanism there. When we notice some delays, we urged the MTRCL to use the best endeavor to come up with the best measures to recover the delays. I've highlighted the fact that the Highways Department was aware of the delays of the MTRC work. We've urged the MTRC to take action to deal with it. In fact, in the IBC report, they did not doubt the MTRCL did take action to recover the delays. In the IEP report, there are some criticism of the Highways Department. I've considered all these criticisms and reviewed the effectiveness of the work. Now, we can do better in two areas. First, in the IEP report, paragraph 4.20, there is no evidence of highways exercising independent insight to plan, program, forecast prior to its review in April 2014. In this regard, the Highways Department take positive action to coordinate and take measures to deal with all the delays. One example is to liaise with the Shenzhen authorities to facilitate the early arrival of the TBMs. We are of the view that there was risk of delays in the MTR work, as we urged the MTRC to submit a quarterly report. For tunneling work, my colleagues did conduct similar analysis. For West Kowloon terminal, we did experience quite a bit of difficulties. It is a massive and complicated structure, and there is a need for high technology and diaphragm walls. And some of them, the construction is top-down, some bottom-up, and all these different spheres of works are closely bound up with one another. And we have to get on with the work before the E&M and the track work can be conducted. So we have to take measures to recover the delays, like resequencing the work and resolving the interface problem. We noticed that in May 2014, in this report submitted to the LegCo, it was suggested that the contractor was asked to revise the work to tie in with the project, the objective of completion in 2015. The contractor spent 5 months. It wasn't until March 2014 that they said no to the suggestion. That for them to take, they are familiar with the project, and they took 5 months, and it would be very difficult for the highways to get on with this. Now, we did experience difficulties, but I think we can ask an M&V consultant to conduct an independent prediction. And we have to consider whether the consultant has sufficient information and whether the consultancy fee would be well spent. However, if we consider asking the M&V consultant to conduct a forecast, it would have been a better option. Second, in July 2013, the consultant said that there would be a delay of 11 months. There is no indication that Highways acted upon this to request the MTRC for an in-depth review. Now, for this 11-month delay, it shows that if MTRCL did not take an action to recover the delay, there would be such and such consequences. The Highways Department was aware of the progress. As indicated in paragraph 75, since January 2013, we've asked the MTRCL to submit a program, and they have submitted programs to recover the delays in May, August, and September 2013. Since October 2013, at the PSC meetings, the Highways Department has been asking the MTRCL to revise the program to resolve the slippage problem. At the 37th PSC meeting in July 2013, there was the meeting held in July. The Highways Department indeed did not ask the MTRC to follow up, but the MTRC did give the undertaking that in August 2013 they will make a report regarding the West Kowloon Terminal and the overall project. At the meeting, we didn't reiterate our concerns and therefore caused the misunderstanding of the IEP. In fact, we could have done, we would do more in our supervision going forward. Now, there are considerations regarding communication. I think we should have shared our difficulties with the members of the public. I know that the members of the public do not have a clear understanding of the difficulties of the work, and there has been some misunderstanding regarding the slippage and delays. I'm sure that if the Highways Department could have been more open and more transparent in the communication, all these could have been resolved. In this regard, I offer my apologies to the members of the public. I would give further information during the hearing.
Mr. Lau, you have read out your speaking notes. Are you willing to incorporate your speaking notes as part of your evidence? Yes. Mr. Lau, the Highways Department has submitted 2 documents to the Select Committee, G2 and G5. Are you now officially presenting these 2 documents as part of the evidence? Yes. I would like to remind members that in accordance with Section 15 of the Practice and Procedures, in open inquiry, the members should only ask questions for the purpose of ascertaining the facts of this inquiry, and members should not make comments or statements in the inquiry. I would decide on whether a certain question or a certain piece of evidence is related to the duties and functions of the Select Committee and whether it falls under the scope of the Select Committee. As a chairman, I also have the discretion to decide on whether a follow-up question should be allowed and whether the member should be allowed to ask that question. So members' questions, including the witnesses' response, should last no more than 10 minutes. So I would like to raise the first question. Mr. Lau, in accordance with the monitoring mechanism drawn up by the administration on the Hong Kong section of the XRL, you are the chairman of the PSC as the director of highways. Do you confirm that? Yes. And you would be reporting to the Secretary for Transport and Housing, and also within the Highways Department there is the RDO to assist you in your work. And because of the scale of this project, the government has also commissioned an MNV consultant to assist you in regularly monitoring the MTRCL on whether it is discharging its duties properly, and they will report to you. So can you briefly tell this select committee your role on this project in the past 5 years, and also based on your experience, is this a monitoring system ineffective enough? Are there any inadequacies? And in discharging your duties, what kind of difficulties do you encounter? Can you answer that question? And this is for the benefit of the entire select committee. You can seek clarification if you don't understand my question. Thank you. Can I be allowed some time to sort of sort out my information before I give a response? Chairman, in my written statement, I have said clearly or stated clearly the entire monitoring mechanism. Chairman, you yourself have made a summary of how that works. Under this mechanism, the Highways Department is the checker approach. We have an MNV consultant to monitor the MTRCL to make sure that the MTRC is discharging its duties in accordance with the entrustment agreement. I am the chairman of the PSC, and in my written statement I said that there are 3 levels of monitoring, including the first level, the PSC, the second level, is the project coordination meetings, and the third level. Sorry, I have to read the Chinese names. The third level is contract review meetings. The second level again, project coordination meetings. The first is project supervision committee, second, project coordination meetings, and third is the contract review meetings. We have 3 levels of monitoring. I'm the Highways Department Director. I'm the chairman of the PSC, and it comprises of representatives from the MTRCL. And that committee meeting, the MTRCL will update us on the progress of works and also difficulties encountered. At the second level, an assistant director is the chairman of that mechanism. The MTRCL, the chief manager and the project manager are attending the meetings, and they are there to monitor the various works, and they will look into how to deal with problems encountered. Also, the overall timetable will be looked at. Our colleagues in those meetings will try to understand the overall progress of the XRL and any problems encountered. And if problems are identified, our colleagues will assist in resolving problems like interfacing, coordination, and so on. We want to make sure that the XRL project can be implemented more smoothly. So the third level, we have this contract review meetings. Paragraph 27. The chief engineer of the Highways Department is the chairman. We will be looking at individual contracts and make reviews. We would also consider measures to mitigate any delays and to catch up with the overall progress. So the Highways Department has 3 levels of monitoring. As the Director of Highways and also the Chairman of the PSC, I would be supervising my colleagues to do a proper job in the other 2 levels of monitoring. I also hold meetings with my team regularly to understand what difficulties we've encountered. Sorry to interrupt you. So for these 3 levels, PSCs, PCM, CRM, are meetings held monthly or what? Well, yes, monthly meetings are held. So through this 3-level monitoring mechanism, we'll be able to monitor the overall progress of the works and the difficulties encountered, and also what kind of coordination work to help with taking forward the work. We also understand or in full grasp of the progress. And we would also urge the MTRCL to study and consider any mitigation measures or delay recovery measures, DRMs, so that we can catch up with the slippage. You talked about delay recovery measures, DRMs. Will the Highways Department conduct an independent review on whether the DRMs are effective? Would you be conducting an independent assessment? There is a mechanism to vet DRMs proposed. Sorry, I have to refer to the information here. The MTRCL has a mechanism to vet the DRMs, and the Highways Department and the M&V consultant will participate in the vetting process. According to the management system of the MTRCL, all DRMs have to be approved by the PCG of within the MTRCL, and before that is done, for the DRMs which involve cost variations, they will be submitted to the Highways Department for consideration before vetting. And the Highways Department and the BMA M&V consultant will provide our expert opinions. I don't have much time left. I've got only 10 minutes. So can you tell us what kind of difficulties you've encountered in your monitoring role? In my monitoring role, I think we are adhering to the mechanism to do our work. In my written statement, I also mentioned this. We have a monitoring mechanism, but we can't guarantee that the MTRCL will give us all the information needed. In the first report of the IBC, paragraph 36, it is said that the team has withheld key information on progress from Highways Department in November 2013. The project team of the MTRCL expressed to the project directors as to the cumulative effect of delays across various parts of the project, and that the completion date would fall in 2016. But then the project director at that time didn't give the information to the government. Thank you, Mr. Lau. So I'll read out the list of members who would like to raise questions. Gary Fan, Cham Kam Lam, Tony Chair, Vice Chairman, Lee Chuk Yan, and Frankie Yik. Tang Ka Piu, Mr. Wu Chi Wai. Mr. Gary Fan. Thank you, Chairman. I have 3 questions. I will start with the first 2. Chairman, THB, Highways Department, and MTRCL are joining hands to disclose all information to this select committee based on the fact that this is a commercial sensitive information, including the minutes of the meetings and some other reports. I am very disappointed and infuriated, rather, of this, because this raises queries that the government and the MTRCL are trying to hide something. We are involving a huge amount of money in building the project, and this is all taxpayers' money. And I think Hong Kong people do have the right to monitor you in your work and also the reasons behind the delay. So, Director of Highways, you are the chairman of the PSC. You please give us an explanation openly. How come that you are not disclosing the minutes of the meeting and also your independent review report? What kind of information is considered sensitive information? And also, a select committee is asked to hold closed-door meetings and to keep information confidential. This is not acceptable. This is in the way of our select committee discharging our duty. And in May 2013, it is reported there is delay and there is an overspending of $24.5 billion. And the government has chosen to believe in the MTRCL. Before it did that, has it consulted the consultants on this? According to the independent review panel, in July 2013, 2 months after the media exposed the delays, it is estimated that the completion date will be postponed for 11 months. That means that the media reports were accurate. So how come that the government decided to still hide the facts and not disclose the delays to the public? 2 questions, Mr. Peter Lau. Thank you, Mr. Fan, for your questions. You said we joined hands. Well, I have reservation on that expression. First of all, I would like to reiterate that wherever possible, the government will cooperate with the work of the select committee. So we are willing to provide information, provided that some of it is blacked out. In the letter on the 18th of January 2015, we said that we would only provide information provided that some of it is kept confidential and is also discussed at closed-door meetings. The information may be commercially sensitive information and confidential information. So before we decide on whether to disclose that information, we have to strike a balance between facilitating the work of the selecting committee and also protecting public interest. And that includes the government's right to take further legal action in the future. The daily reports, the PSC meeting minutes, and also the PCM meeting minutes, and so on. This is information required by the select committee, but these minutes involve commercially sensitive information, including details on the contracts of the ongoing project. Such information should be kept confidential. If we disclose the information or have it discussed in the open hearing of the select committee, that will affect the MTRCL's handling of claims lodged by the contractors or claims to be lodged. So that would put the MTRCL in a disadvantaged position on these matters, and ultimately the public interest may be undermined.
Mr. Fan, I'll give you back the time. Are you saying that the entire document will involve a commercial interest and the whole document has to be kept under wraps, like Mr. Lau's name or the Highways Department's address, are you saying that the entire document has to be kept confidential because of the commercial information? Chairman, I've got a very good question. Not the entire document, but a lot of the information therein has to be kept confidential. Yes, please. Carry on, please. If the Select Committee agrees that the document is kept confidential and used in closed-door meetings, then we would be prepared to make available the information with certain details blacked out. Well, Director, now we are looking into whether MTRC has committed any dereliction of duty. Now, you are not disclosing the information regarding how the government is monitoring the project. You're not even prepared to give us the minutes. How can we monitor the situation? You have evaded the first question. Mr. Lau. Chairman, if I may add a little bit more to the first question. Well, Director, you should not waste my time. I don't have very much time. If you're not prepared to answer the first question, please answer the second question. Well, let him supplement, please. Yes. My supplement is that these claims can be in the amount of billions of dollars, a lot of money, and the public interest would be at stake. As regards the second question, May 2013, why did you withhold the information in July? Why didn't you disclose the information? Mr. Lau, well, the member referred to November. Our consultant referred to the delays of 11 months. In my statement and in my supplementary speech, I did mention that we are fully aware of the delays in the XRL project, but it doesn't mean that the completion date would be delayed. If you look at May 2013, there was 2 years away from the completion date in 2015, and within these 2 years a lot can happen. It is a question of whether the MTRCL will be using their endeavor to come up with the delay recovery measures, and whether these measures are going to be effective to resolve the slippage. Our view at that time was that given the state of progress, we couldn't say that the 2015 completion date would be unachievable. We should give the MTRCL an opportunity to come up with the DRMs and to get on with the project. Mr. Fan, according to Para 75, in the PSC, the MTRC forecasts the delays, and the government commissioned the Jacobs consultant. There is some discrepancy. In 2013, at the 2 PSC meetings, the MTRCL reported delays of 7 to 8 months. But according to the government's commissioned consultant, in July, it was said that the completion date of the XRL would experience a delay of 11 months. As Director of Highways, do you think that the MTRC's forecast would be too optimistic? Why did you allow them to have such overly optimistic forecast? Mr. Lau. Well, Para 75, we have a table. It is a pretty large paragraph. Can you specifically refer to the paragraph? Well, I'm talking about the July 18th onwards, the 2 PSC meetings. I mean, this is not in line with the information disclosed by the independent committee. July, Mr. Fan. That's the 37th PSC meeting. The delay is 11 months. Now, in Para 76, that the 11-month delay is on the basis of the fact that there would be no DRM measures. Now, according to your study, there would be a delay of 7 to 8 months, according to the MTRC. Is this as a result of the DRM measures that is put in place? Why did you choose to trust the MTRC's forecast instead of the views of the experts appointed by the government? Mr. Lau, I think I've answered this question. The M&V consultant talked about the 11-month delays. Now, these are the delays regarding the work procedures. Now, we were aware of the delays. The main question is what measures could be taken to recover the delays. Thank you. Next, Mr. Chen Kam-lam. Chairman, thank you. Chairman, I'd like to find out more about the role of the government. If I may put a question to the director. In the year 2008, you decided to appoint Lois Registered Rail Asia Limited as the consultant. Why did you decide to appoint Lois, and how did you find Lois? And in the process of working out the details, how did they work out the role of the supervisors? Mr. Lau. Thank you. Thanks very much, Mr. Chen. On the first question, how did we come to identify Lois as the consultant? I was not in the post at that time, so I don't have all the information with me now. But as a general practice, the government engages a consultant. We would use the tender process. The consultant has to have all the caliber and qualifications. I'm sure in the tender document we would make it clear that they have to be familiar with the railway works. And Lois is an expert in this regard. Mr. Chen's second question refers to the work things are done. As a matter of fact, in the statement, we do allude to that. Lois now, there are a number of considerations there with regard to the MTRC. Historically, MTRC did take on a lot of projects in Hong Kong and overseas, and they were successful projects. Second, in the MTRC, they have a project management mechanism of its own. So for these large projects, they do have the procedures which are robust, and they are representing the best practices in the trade. And there would be external bodies that will be conducting regular supervision. So the mechanism at the time proved to be effective. Lois also noticed that the mechanism of the MTRC is similar to those adopted by the government. In paragraph 12, we mentioned that we should adopt the project management mechanism that has been adopted by the MTRC. And we have to monitor, we have to ascertain the government's interest in the process of the construction. Now that's what I refer to the checkers model. In other words, it is the government's role to ascertain whether the MTRC acts in accordance with the procedures. Mr. Chen. Chairman, the reason I put this question is that the government has a supervisory role here, and it has to have the ability to make distinction between things. We should not take on board whatever is recommended. The MTRC is a very experienced rail operator. But there would be a difference between undergoing their own projects and being entrusted with projects. According to paragraph 12 of the statement, it is recommended that a sampling supervision process be adopted. Now, this is pretty risky. Now, how do you actually go about doing this sampling supervision? Are you doing so in accordance with the three-tier committee mechanism? If there are problems, they will do the interface. They will coordinate to make sure that the project can be proceeding smoothly. Since 2013, since you've identified the problem, can you highlight an example to illustrate the interfacing and coordination work undertaken by the Highways Department? Mr. Lau. Thank you very much, Mr. Chen, for the question. In this Loy's recommended model, basically it is on the basis of risk assessment. We do conduct sampling to make sure that works are done in accordance with the proposal. Now, the project management mechanism has been serving us well, and the government should not be micromanaging. And we have to consider the resources at our disposal. That's why we adopt this risk-based sampling approach to verify delivery of the project. I mentioned the three-tier structure as a part of the supervisory mechanism. Other than these three tiers, we do not rely on the MTRC information alone. The M&V consultant and my colleagues would be going down the site to conduct site visit on a monthly basis, and we would liaise with the site staff to look at the progress and to find out about the difficulties that encountered. And through these meetings and also site visits, we do have a pretty good understanding about the site work and also the difficulties and the areas that need to be coordinated. And of course, any delays that encountered, and we urge the MTRC to take measures to recover the delays. We have some examples in the statement. Let me turn to the right page for members. Paragraph 74. When we understood that there would be delays at the cross-boundary tunnels, we liaised with the mainland authorities to speed up the arrival of 2 TBMs from Guangzhou of Shenzhen. That's the first example. Second, now in the MTRC's DRM measures, we do play a coordinating role. Paragraph 64 through to 68 had a number of examples cited there.
In para 68, we mentioned about TTMS at Jordan Row. Changes have to be made to the TTMS. So we liaised with the relevant government departments, including the police and the transport department, because we need the endorsement from these government departments on changes in the TTMS. So that's what we did. We tried to arrange meetings as soon as we could so that the MTRCL could provide their justifications to the government departments as soon as possible, and appropriate measures could be drawn up to tie in with the TTMS. Oh, well, my time's up, but I would like to follow up further. The director talked about coordination. I found that has basically to do with coordination with government departments. This is a role you should be playing, of course, but what we are concerned is that when there are delays in projects, have you been able to identify problems during the course of construction using your risk-based sampling approach? What is your role in all of these? Well, based on the examples you quoted, you didn't seem to be doing a lot on that front. In your opening remarks, you said that if you've identified problems, then you would raise certain suggestions, and then those suggestions have to be vetted by the project manager of the MTRCL before they got implemented. So in other words, you didn't have the power to resolve problems, but the power lies rather with the MTRCL. So you wouldn't actually be properly monitoring them on the works if that is the case. So perhaps Mr. Chen Kam-lam, you should have the second round. Next one, Mr. Tony Chair, Vice Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. Monitoring the XRL project, I believe that is one of the major duties of the Highways Department. Mr. Lau, you are the Director of Highways, and on average, in every month, how much time does you spend on this project? And also, in relation to para 30 of your statement, you said that there is a dedicated division under Highways Department. And in April 2013, there were a total of 13 civil engineering posts, and also the support staff members. So were there so many people before 2014 in this dedicated division? And how much was spent in setting up this dedicated division? And you also engaged an independent consultant to monitor the works. How much manpower were you talking about? Second, I would like to follow up on para 21 of your statement. You said that where necessary, the Director of Highways also reports to the STH any significant issue relating to the implementation of the XRL. So who decides on whether an issue is considered significant? Is it yourself? And also, in the past, have you identified any significant issues? How many times have that been done, reporting to the STH? And what are the issues involved? Mr. Lau. Chairman, I'd like to thank Mr. Chair for your question. Mr. Chair is right in pointing out that the XRL project is an important task under the Highways Department. The Highways Department has to oversee a number of projects. There are 4 major divisions, and Railway Development Office is one of our divisions. And the RDO is responsible not only for XRL. There are 5 other railway projects which are now ongoing, and XRL is just one of them. In my daily work, as I mentioned, I'm the chairman of the PSC, so I will be overseeing the work of that committee, and every 2 weeks, please give me a percentage to put things easier. Well, what is the percentage of your time spent on the project among all projects? If I come up with a simple assessment, around 10%, I would say. There are 4 divisions, as I mentioned, and XRL is just one of the work of just one of division, 10 to 20%, I would say. That's the first question. Second question, about this dedicated team. This is especially for the setup for the XRL project. There have been changes in the establishment based on the project works volume. After April 2014, we have redeployed 1 more senior engineer to the division. I think we are focusing on the incident on April 2014. I would like to know whether there have been any significant changes before that time. And also later on, can you provide further information on the money spent to set up this division? Remuneration, what is the annual spending on this division? This is something I would like to know. My second question has to do with para 21 of the statement, significant issues. Well, significant issues have been mentioned in the statement, as I mentioned before. And Mr. Chair asked who decides which issues are considered significant. I am the director, so I would be the one who makes assessment of whether issues to be reported to the STH. In my statement, I mentioned about the delay in the cross-boundary tunnel section. And as I said, we've asked the MTRCL, in association with its counterpart on the mainland, to submit a progress report every 3 months. And such reports were also submitted to the THB so that they are kept well informed of the progress. I would like to follow up. Is it that from 2010 to April 2014, it's just one issue which has been raised, the issue on the cross-boundary tunnel section? I would also like to raise a question on para 28 of the statement. House Department has employed an external consultant, Jacobs China Limited. Other members have said that Jacobs China Limited may not hold the same view as the MTRCL with regard to delays. If this happened, the director, were you inclined to accept the MTRCL's opinions, or would you consider more Jacobs China's opinions? And if there is a difference in their views, how have you followed up so that the 2 parties reach a consensus on their views? And if there are differences in views, what is your position? Which party's views would you take? Let me supplement on significant issues. I would like to say that not only significant issues have been reported to the STH, the statement also said, I'm just asking about the significant issues. I'm not interested in other issues. I'm just interested in significant issues. Every month, we report the work to the THB, there is another significant issue. In 2013, well, in previous reports, it is also mentioned after resequencing of the works procedure, the MTRC has raised the option of partial operation of the West Kowloon terminus. And this is a very important proposal because it has an impact on the completion day and so on. So we did report that to the THB. Now, as to the question on MNV consultant, if the MNV consultant's view is different from MTRCL view, what will we do? There are two parts of my answer. The MNV consultants' report on the progress actually is more or less similar to that of MTRCL. But then the MNV consultants raised a number of queries in their MNV process. They have raised a number of queries including the productivity, progress of works, and also the effectiveness of DRMs. On such queries, we would write to the MTRCL to ask for an official reply. If the M&A consultant is not happy with the answer of MRCL, that issue will still be kept in the list of our concerns, and ask the MTRCL to follow up continuously. I've asked the director to pinpoint the significant issues to be reported to the SCH. He raised the two issues. Can I ask the director to give us a paper on this? Well, there are just two significant issues over a 4-year period, it seems. And also, the consultant and the MTRCL may hold different views on the delays on also recovery measures. So can the director provide us with a paper with information on this front, including information on the reasons and also you said if the views differ, then you would also follow up duly. So can you give us more detailed information in that regard? Mr. Lau? On these two significant issues you mentioned, can you provide a paper? And also about the coordination raised by Mr. Chair. Well, there may be many examples where views may differ. So, well, I think the two issues have been set out in the statement. But, well, Chairman, what I would like to know is that you must have some papers when you report to the SDH. They would like he would like to have the relevant documents. We have to discuss with the THB to see whether it is proper for us to submit the information to you. You can discuss that with the THB, but Mr. Lau, don't forget that we're trying to protect public interest here with our work. Yes, I understand that. Next one, Mr. Lee Chuk-yan.
Chairman, my first question is about the paper, para 75, 76, and all the PSC meetings are highlighted there. Why can't you make available the minutes of the PSC to us? You highlighted some of the details. Yes, let Mr. Lau answer the question first. Mr. Lau? Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Lee. Now, whether we can make available the information, now we did talk about this at the beginning of the hearing. Do I have to repeat it, Mr. Lee? What confidential information would there be? Now, you have 3-tier structure. Our question is, with these three-tier structure. You have also the M&V consultant. You have the four different tiers there. Now, with so many different tiers of structure, at the end of the day, the entire supervision mechanism seems to be not living up to its work. And you have become aware of the delays, but it seems that there is nothing much that you could do. We'd like to find out whether you have done anything from the minutes of the PSC. Why so confidential? The Project Supervision Committee minutes. Mr. Lau. First of all, let me point out that in paragraph 75, we merely extracted some of the important issues from the meetings. In May last year, the THB submitted a paper to the Council in which there is a chronology of events. We have, in fact, included all the work of the PSC. We have highlighted all these work in the chronology of events. Now here I'm only giving you a sample. Well, you talked about a sample. Why didn't you give us the raw data, the minutes of the PSC? I'm not talking about anything else. All the agreements that you said you would like to keep under wraps. Now, why can't you make available the minutes of the PSC? Mr. Lau, I said this before, and I repeat that the committee is asking for some information which is commercially sensitive. Mr. Lee, in this PSC, what are the things that cannot be disclosed? Is there any commercial information, sensitive commercial information in the PSC minutes? Mr. Lau, quite inevitably in the PSC meetings, we would refer to the contract issues. These contracts are still ongoing. And we also talked about the claims and the way in which we intend to deal with the claims. There will also be reference to the dollar signs. If we disclose this information, or if we discuss this kind of information at the Select Committee, then the contractors would become aware of the details. To put it simply, then our bottom line will be out in the public domain. And in dealing with the claims in our negotiation, we would be put at a very disadvantageous position if our bottom line is disclosed. Mr. Lee, can you give us the PSC minutes? If there are issues to do with the claims, then you can blot them out. That way we would be able to understand the entire supervision. Mr. Lau. Chairman, if the Select Committee agrees to make the PSC meeting minutes confidential and use the information in closed-door meetings, we would be prepared to make them available. Mr. Lee, well, you can blot out the sensitive information. We'd like to find out between the government and the MTRCL. We'd like to find out about the supervision there from the minutes. Paragraph 75 has been edited, and we'd like to have the raw data for our information. We will have some discussion, of course. We will discuss with the administration how best we can deal with it. Let me turn now to my second question. As I said, there are three tiers of supervision, and plus the consultant, M&V consultant. It's not a question of nobody is doing anything. Maybe the question lies with the fact that your team's attitude seems to be regarding delays and slippage as something normal, and it's important just to catch up with the delays. Now, the consultant mentioned 11 months back in July, and the MTRCL talked about 7 months. Now, in terms of attitude, do you think that, do you regard delays as something not out of the ordinary, and you don't have the sense of urgency to make sure that the entire project would have to be speeded up to recover the delays? Now, the MTRC has been fobbing you off, and the MTRC told you that there would be a report in a couple of months, and in a couple of months the report didn't seem to be okay. Is it the case that you didn't you were not sufficiently assertive in order to make an MTRCL recover the delays? Mr. Lau. Chairman, thank you. In my statement and also in my opening remarks, I also referred to this point. It is pretty common for projects to experience delays. The key issue is the supervisor, whether the supervisor, i.e. the MTRC, is minded to recover the delays. As I said in my statement, as far as the Highways Department is concerned, we do have 2 roles to play. First of all, we have to make sure that they are acting in compliance with the mechanism. And second, if there are any slippages, we will make sure that MTRC will use the best endeavor to recover the delays. Now, in the IBC and the IEP reports, there is no doubt expressed about the endeavor put in by the MTRCL to recover delays. Now, at the committees, we urged repeatedly the MTRCL to consider and launch initiatives to catch up with the slippage. In fact, they've been doing quite a lot of work, Mr. Lee. Do you feel that there have been accrued delays from 3 months, 7 months, and 11 months? Now, the MTRC talked about 7 months. Why didn't you cast doubt on the situation? Now, your consultant talked about 11 months. Did you have any doubts? Did you question as to whether there have been any cover-ups? Mr. Lau, at the PSC meetings, we do question the MTRCL's undertaking of getting the project completed in 2015 and whether this would be achievable. Now, we did what we had to do. We made the MTRC submit a revised program, and that enabled us to ascertain whether the 2015 completion date would be achievable. Now, I've also pointed that out in my statement. In October 2013, the MTRC did ask the West Kowloon contractor to consider whether the program could be adjusted to tie in with the completion date of 2015. The contractor spent 5 months. It wasn't until March that it wasn't possible. It took quite a bit of time, and in the light of our experience, it wasn't a question of the contractor sitting on the issue. The West Kowloon is a terribly complicated and massive project. As I mentioned in the statement, it is an underground terminal. Now, if you use a shopping mall for comparison, it covers an area of 3 to 4 festival walks in terms of size. So we cannot ascertain from one part of the work to come to the conclusion that there would be delays. We have to look at different aspects, like the interface of different works, whether there would be additional manpower to catch up with the delays. Mr. Lee, well, you have to join the second round. Mr. Yik. Director, paragraph 5 or page 5 of your statement, Now, there are two criticisms of the IEP. There is no evidence of Highways Department exercising independent insight to plan, program, and forecast prior to its review in April 2014. And on page 7, and there's 4.11, in July 2013, the M&V consultant estimated a potential delay of almost 11 months. There is no indication Highways acted upon this to request MTRCL for an in-depth review of the progress. Now, if you refer to the second page of your opening statement, you mentioned the role of the Highways Department. You said the Highways Department's role is to make sure that the supervisor, i.e. the MTRC, is acting in compliance with the mechanism. Now, you are playing the role of a monitor. As long as they are acting in accordance with the established mechanism to submit reports on a regular basis, if you reflect the issues to the THB, then that would be the end of your responsibilities. Do you, first of all, agree with the criticisms of the expert reports? Second, as Director of Highways, do you think that it is Highways' responsibility to make sure that the project would be completed on time? Director? Chairman, the two expert reports, I've already responded to them in my opening remarks. I've pointed out that, in fact, I've highlighted some examples to illustrate our independent judgment. Second, in the IEP report, there is a factual annexure, page 116, paragraph 494. Page 126. The last three lines there, from the bottom,
perform specific reviews, such as forecasting the expected completion date based on actual production rates. So,
in fact, the expert panel got hold of the paper, and they understood that we did conduct independent forecasting. So the IEP did have the evidence to come to this conclusion. As I said in my opening remarks, in fact, we did conduct some analysis, but West Kowloon Terminal is terribly complicated. We couldn't come to any independent judgment on the basis of the available information. So we urged the MTRCL to come up with a revised program for us to ascertain the completion date. The second criticism is the 11 months delay. I also referred to that in my statement. The M&V consultant estimated a potential delay of almost 11 months, and that's referring to the delays of the work, but it doesn't mean to say that the XRL would definitely experience a delay of 11 months. So what we did was to make the MTRCL to take measures to recover the delays. Mr. Frankie Yik also mentioned the role of the Highways Department being an auditor. At that time, I disagree. Our role is clearly spelled out in the budget. We have the control officer's report. This is clearly spelled out as part of the budget. I am a controlling officer. I do submit papers to talk about different spheres of work and our responsibilities.
And it is stated clearly there that the Highways Department has a responsibility to take forward the XRL project. And in my statement, that is also mentioned in my opening remarks, I also said the same thing. And that is in addition to monitoring the MTRCL in discharging its duties in accordance with the established mechanism, we are also playing a coordinating role. And Mr. Chen Kam Lam has raised a question on that, and I've also replied to him. As regards whether the XRL project should be commissioned on time, I think we do have a duty to ensure that this is being the case. Director, you have denied the two criticisms of the IEP, and you also spelled out clearly your responsibilities. And in page 5 in your opening remarks, IEP pointed out about problems in the system, i.e. the MTRCL doesn't have a robust monitoring system within itself. Has the Highways Department identified such problems? If yes, when? And if no, what remedial measures would you undertake? One of the tasks of the M&V consultant, as we require them, is to do some sort of audit whether the MTRCL is acting in accordance with its own mechanism. This is being done on a half-yearly basis. And for the works that I have done so far, they couldn't identify any non-compliance situation. Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Yik. The IEP said that the internal project management mechanism is not good enough, is inadequate. So it's not about their project monitoring. You are involved directly in the project monitoring work. So in the past few years, have you identified any inadequacies in the internal management mechanism? Have you seen that happening? Mr. Lau? In para 36 of my statement, that point was mentioned. In the first report of the IBC, the fact is laid out. It is said that the project team had withheld key information on progress from the Highways Department. And in November 2013, the project team has made an analysis on the various cumulative effects, and that the completion date would fall in 2016. The project director at that time didn't report such delay to the government. I think this is one area where improvement is needed on the part of the MTRCL. I don't think the director has answered my question. My question is that in the highways, in your course of monitoring the MTRCL, have you found that their internal management mechanism is problematic? Do you get my question, Mr. Lau? In our monitoring work, we haven't identified anything or that there is a systemic problem within the MTRCL in that regard. Well, I don't understand. If you find that there are problems here, then you must know that there has been cover-up. And it seems that you are not aware of such cover-ups at all. In your consultant's report, in their assessment, and also the internal assessment of the MTRCL on the delay. Well, for many months, your views, the views of the two parts differ, and the consultant said that there is a much longer delay than the MTRCL So if you find such different information, how would you do your assessment, and how would you assess the situation? There may be minor difference. Well, it's not a minor difference at all. It's a significant difference. Well, there are different factors to be considered. First, the first basis to be used is the original scheduled completion time, and that is August 2015, according to the first entrustment agreement. That is the first basis, and the second basis is that the revisions were made during the course of the progress of works, and revised scheduled completion times have been presented, and that may differ from the original time schedule. They had some resequencing of the works procedures may have been done, so that's the second basis. And the revised time schedule is drawn up based on the contracts, and there may be variations to contracts. So different bases have been used in coming up with a delay time frame. So we have to make an analysis among these different delay claims. So overall, we know that there is a delay or slippage, and they have been working hard on the DRMs to try to recover the delays. Thank you, Chairman. The next one, Mr. Tan Ka-piu. Thank you, Chairman. 10 minutes may seem long, but then it is, in fact, very short. A brief question first. Brief response from you, please. In your opening remarks, you did make an apology to the public. Before you wrote up this opening remarks, have you talked to the administration or your legal advisor? If you made an apology, would that affect the administration's making a claim against the MTRCL? Damages may be paid by the MTRCL to the administration. There may be action to pursue that. Have you consulted the a legal advisor? Thank you, Chairman. When I drafted the opening remarks, I communicated with the THB and our legal advisor. I made an apology to the public, the reason being that we could have done a better job in our communication. There has been a lot of misunderstanding, and if we have done a better job in our communication, I think people's concerns may be allayed. I think that has mainly to do with communication. Well, that has nothing to do with the EA, the entrustment agreement with the MTRCL. You said that there are two areas for improvement. You seem to be giving the impression that the Highways Department has room for improvement. It's not doing its job properly, hence the need for improvement. So if the case is taken to the court, the judge may share the same view, and that is on this XRL incident, the Highways Department has not been doing a proper job, and there's delay, and there is overspending, and then the NTRCL doesn't have to pay damages as a result. Do you agree? No, I don't agree with that. In my statement, I set out clearly the MTRCL's responsibilities. It has the responsibility to exercise its best endeavor to take forward the construction works and ensure that it is completed on time. the Highways Department's communication with the public will not affect the MTRCL's work in that regard. Member has mentioned this and also said in my opening remarks that there are 2 areas where improvement can be made. We are a government department and we should be monitoring ourselves continuously. And if something can be done better, then we should do so. And we should make continuous improvement and perfect our services. So this is the mindset that I had when I drafted this statement. M&V consultant in the IEP report, paragraph 4.9, and the M&V consultant's work has been recognized, duly recognized. Well, their work is duly recognized. THB, Highways Department, has not been criticizing the M&V consultant. So I assumed that they are doing a proper job. And in paragraph 4.10, it says that starting from 2011 December, every month, Jacobs China Limited has, issued an alert that there may be a potential delay in the project. And it urged that a proper review be conducted. And starting from March 2012 and also on May 2013, a proper review was called for. So the Jacobs China has been giving you a series of reports. Have the content of the report been accurately reflected to the THB? Mr. Lau? Thank you. In my statement and also my opening remarks, I said we understand from the M&V consultant's report and our on-site inspections, as well as the MTRCL's reports, there are delays to the project. In the M&V consultant's report, it is just confirming what we already know or knew. In my opening remarks, I set out our responsibility as to urge the MTRCL would exercise its best endeavor to implement DRMs to recover delays. We did that. And as I said, in the IEP report, it didn't query the MTRCL's efforts in recovering the delays. We didn't submit the report to the THB in their entirety, but in our regular reporting to the THB, we would give the Bureau information on the overall situation, including problems encountered. Director, do you agree that you are exercising your discretion in whether you are submitting the consultant's report to the THB or not? Well, there is an independent judgment to be made, I agree. For civil, for works, in particular civil engineering works, including excavation of underground soil, it is very common, or there is a high chance of projects being delayed. Now, what is the relationship between the delay and the recovery of delay? So that involves judgment. Based on the situation at that time, was it the case that it is totally impossible to recover the delay? So that involved a professional judgment. We considered the circumstances at that time, and the complicated nature of the West Kowloon Terminus project, we weren't able to make that kind of judgment, so we didn't present any judgment to the THB.
So your judgment was you couldn't really judge whether what was said would come to pass, and that's why you didn't relay the concerns to the THB, and that's what I heard you to mean. So you did exercise your judgment. So before the concerns are raised by the members of the public, did the THB solicit information from the Highways Department, in particular the Jacobs report? Did they make such a request? Director? Now, the honourable member talked about the concerns of the M&V consultant. There was a mention of 11 months delays, and they were merely highlighting or pointing out the facts. They didn't say the entire project would experience an 11-month delay. Well, the question was whether THB asked or mentioned any concerns to you prior to April 2013, concerns about the progress of the project, or whether the 2015 completion date or commissioning date will be achievable. Mr. Lau, from my memory, the THB did say that if there were problems, I would have to make a report to them. Prior to April 2014, did you tell the Bureau that notwithstanding the delay recovery measures, the 2015 completion date would be unachievable? Did you give these kind of comments to the THB, Mr. Lau? Well, the THB is represented at the Project Supervision Committee, and in 2013, we mentioned to the Bureau that there would be a risk regarding the cross-boundary tunneling work. We did ask the MTRC to give us an account of the whole situation, in particular the section at the cross-boundary tunnel. So we did express our concerns to the THB. Mr. Wu Chi-wai. Chairman, thank you. The Director of Highways has to make sure that the project will be completed on time and according to the budget. From what I heard this morning, the Director seemed to be getting bogged down on whether the work will be completed on time and so on. I've never heard anything said about the financial implications of all these mitigation measures. In your statement, in your opening remarks, I never seen any estimation of the financial implications. In the course of recovering the delays, do you think that there wouldn't be any financial implications? Have you conducted any studies or financial studies regarding these DRM to ascertain whether there would be any changes to the price tag of the entire project? Mr. Lau. Thank you very much, Mr. Wu, for the question. Now, in terms of financial issues, this is another area of our supervision. In our dedicated team, we do have staff looking at the budget, and also the way in which the funding is used. Now, after all the major contracts have been awarded, the contingency remains at a healthy level, and we are monitoring the budget of the XRL. Each month at the PSC meeting, the MTRC has to submit a report. Mr. Wu, sorry to butt in here. Now, with regard to project delays, and you have to catch up with the slippage and the delays, is it usually the case that you don't normally consider the financial implications arising from these delay recovery measures, or you don't have to comment on the financial implications arising from these measures? Director, the answer is no, Chairman. In monitoring the progress of work, the timing and the budget are intertwined, so we have to look at both. When we monitor the MTRC's work at the PSC, we do remind the MTRC that in catching up with the delays, they still have to consider the financial implications. They have to consider the budget instead of just catching up with the delays. So when they look at all the DRM measures, they have to submit information to us, and we will offer our input. Mr. Wu. So in this regard, you have not conducted any studies on financial implications. You're merely looking at the measures. Is that right, Mr. Lau? I think we have to come back to the entrustment agreement and the mechanism there. In the entrustment agreement, MTRC is entrusted with the project. They are responsible for the design and the construction of the project. As regards the financial situation, the MTRC has all the information. What we do is to work on the basis of the MTRC's report and monitor and assess the situation. As I said earlier on, after all the contracts have been awarded, the contingency remains at a healthy level. So we will look at the use of the contingency fees and assess the situation. Mr. Wu, from the director, he seems to be saying that we do have a large contingency fee and we don't have to be worried about the situation. But for each delay recovery measure, there would be a financial implication. He is saying that he could only rely on the MTRC information. Now, you are checking the checker. Did you instruct Jacobs China Limited to have a look at the financial implications arising from all these delay recovery measures? Did you at any point in time doubt whether these delay recovery measures would add to the price tag of the entire project to a level beyond the original budget? Mr. Lau, did you instruct Jacobs to conduct a study? Chairman, M&V consultant Jacobs has to do the monitoring on different levels. One of them is the financial aspect. I must add that we're not merely looking at the considerable contingency fee alone. Now, when they look at each and every delay recovery measure, they have to submit all the details to the PSC for discussion. So once a measure has been approved, we would be in a position to know what the financial position is and what implications there will be on the contingency fee. Mr. Wu. Chairman. Director, in the opening remarks, you talked about your monitoring of the MTRC. Now you would have sampling study or investigation. Now, first of all, how often do you conduct the sampling study, and on what basis would you come to the judgment that the sampling survey reflect the situation? Whatever sampling we conduct, presumably we do have some basis to determine whether we would have to follow up on the issues. Can you elaborate on this, please? Also, can you tell us, in the course of work, what sort of areas did you conduct sampling on, and what findings did you come up with from the sampling? Mr. Lau. Chairman, the sampling study is on the basis of risk. What happened is the M&V consultant would conduct a risk assessment every 6 months, and it would ascertain the areas where there would be greater risk, and it would then recommend certain sampling and monitoring and certain action being taken. In accordance with the findings, we would discuss with the M&V consultant regarding the future sampling, the objective and the areas and so on. Mr. Wu. Well, will the Director of Highways give us more information in this regard? Now, we'd like to find out about the risk assessment mechanism, the sampling, the size, the scope, and the findings of the sampling. All these are terribly important information to illustrate whether the supervision mechanism is effective or not. Yes, indeed, we can make available the information. Yes, please. You might wish to liaise with our secretary to make available the information. Mr. Wu. Well, you have a lot of meeting documents that have to do with sensitive commercial information. But in the entrustment, the entrustment agreement would be fundamental to our hearing. Now, this agreement involves the government and the MTRCL. Will these agreements be made available to us, or will they have to be kept confidential? Mr. Lau. This entrustment agreement is an agreement signed between the THB and the MTRCL. I understand that the committee discussed this with the THB. I think that we can further discuss this issue and see how the THB will take the decision. Mr. Michael Tin. Chairman, I never ask question in 10 minutes. Now, if you just look at the forest, you will not be able to see anything beyond the forest. I think we have to get beyond the forest and look at the individual trees and leaves. If I may home in on certain specifics, paragraph 76 of your statement says that since July 2013, you have asked the MTRC to submit the information. And according to IEP report, since November, they have been giving you warnings about the risks. So up to 2013, you have received 11 reminders of the risks of delays. Now, if a patient comes to you with some complaints, then you're not specifically asking him what he did last night or what he has been eating, and you'll be asking him what discomfort he has, and then you will send him off. Now, with 11 warnings, the consultant and the did they mention A10A being the critical path of the entire delay of the project?
It is the source of the problem, and it is the critical path. Have they ever mentioned this to you, Mr. Lau? The M&A consultant has really mentioned that M&V consultant. We know that 818 contract is a critical project. They've reminded you for 11 times this critical path, 810A. What is the most critical part within this critical path, 810A? Can you share with us? The West Kowloon Terminus is the only station for this project, and we can't complete this station. That means the railway cannot be commissioned. That's number one. Number two, the project takes a relatively long time to complete, and the MTRCL's schedule completion date for that particular project is the latest. Well, 810A is a massive project, building structures, so on. For the 11 reminders, have you asked the consultant which is the most critical part within 810A? Now, if you want to find out the nature of the tree, perhaps you have to touch the leaf of the tree. If you don't ask the consultant which is the most critical part within 810A, then it's difficult for you to monitor the project. Have you ever asked a question like that before? We conducted site visits together with the and the consultant, and we're very well aware of the delays of the project. I think maybe the excavation progress has lagged behind. From 2011 to January 2013, you fully grasped the fact that the critical path is 810A, and then the critical part of that project is excavation, because the granite underground was found to be more than envisaged. You've got 11 reminders. Have you asked the MTRCL to give you a report on how much excavation was done in the last month, and what is the remaining volume of rocks to be excavated? This is a very specific question. Well, we have to look at the specifics, or else you won't be able to come up with solutions to problems. That's how things work in this world. If you refuse to give me an answer on the basis that these are the specifics, and I think you should you'll make good reflections on yourself. Have you ever asked them for a report on that point on a monthly basis? When I talked about specific, I meant it not the way Mr. Tian perceived it. We were well aware of the situation at the time, and Mr. Michael Tian was concerned about the excavation of the rocks. And in 2013, well, we haven't really come to the excavation stage. what we needed to do, we would have to excavate first the soil on the surface before we went underground. We have to do the B3 level lateral support before we could proceed with excavation. So when did excavation work start? Which month and which year? Large-scale excavation only started in March 2015 at B3 level. I would extend the meeting till Mr. Michael Tan is finished with his question. Please continue. You said 2015. We conducted a site visit in 2014. At that time, they were said that there was much more granite than envisaged, and that's most problematic. And at that time, excavation had been going on for a long time. This is a sizable site. The large-scale excavation works just commenced recently. At the peripheral areas, there might be excavation work going on. Just to be more specific, at the northern end of the West Kowloon terminus, the rock strata is like the shape of a U shape. Well, what about 2014? You said the completion date will be postponed to 2017, and you knew that there were delays in early 2014, but how come that you started excavation in 2015? Well, the rock strata were in the shape of a U letter, so there were higher walls at the two sides, and then there were a large, massive volume of rocks in the middle. So we must have did the lateral support at B3 before we went underground further. You knew that the critical path was 810A, and the most important procedure is excavation of rocks. But you've never asked them how much rocks was there and how much could be excavated every month. And you believed that there was a 8-month delay. And then the M&V consultant told you that there would be a 11-month potential delay, and they couldn't tell you that. It was because of the extra large volume of rock. I don't think that's acceptable. The 11 months delay. Well, what they meant was that the delays at the time of the works, they didn't refer to that there is a 11-month delay of the entire project. In January 2013 or July or what, they said that there will be a delay, and their delay was not, the information was not based on the delay in the excavation works. I don't know how come they come up with such a delay period. Now, for the contract, I mean, are you giving them a lump sum to cover all the works, or the costs are calculated on the basis of the volume of rocks to be excavated? So between you and the contractor, was the cost based on the volume of rocks per cubic meters? Now, because there is much more rock to be excavated, there will be overspending. How much is the overspending? Do you have the figure? I don't think you have the right picture. The overspending is not entirely because of more rock to be excavated. Mr. Michael Tan, you've gone over time, so perhaps you can raise your question again in the next meeting. There are two other members who would not have yet to ask in the first round, Ms. Claudia Mo and Dr. Lo Wai Kwok. And in the next meeting, Director, we would invite you again to attend the meeting and assist us in our work. Thank you, Chairman. So that's the end of the meeting.